Regular board meeting to order. This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is a time for public participation during the meeting as indicated in the agenda. At this time, I believe we're going to have students from Fenn Elementary School assist with the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone could please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Fenn students. Mr. Chambers, would you please call roll?
Mr. Hilberg.
Here.
Ms. Pavlik.
Here.
Mr. Ross.
Here.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Here.
Mr. Skidmore.
Here.
Thank you.
At this time, are there any changes, modifications, or additions that need to be made to the minutes, board meeting minutes? If not, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the regular board meeting on February 16, 2021.
I'll second.
Mr. Chambers?
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Mr. Hilberg.
Aye.
Mr. Ross. Aye. Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Thank you.
And are there any additions, removals, or modifications to the consent agenda this evening? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Mr. Chambers?
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Mr. Hilberg.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Mr. Ross. Aye. Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Thank you.
Well, good evening, everyone. It doesn't quite feel like evening with the change of the hour. I am excited for this board meeting because we've got smiling. I'm going to assume that people are smiling behind those masks and being able to have a little bit of normalcy return here in the district. So I do welcome all of our individuals that are visiting with us today. And appreciate you joining us for tonight's board meeting. First topic I'd like to share today is a COVID update. I think I've been giving COVID updates to the board since the beginning of this school year. I'm happy to say that I don't have a lot to share today, and that's because things have really been moving in a positive direction. In terms of COVID cases, since the vaccinations, they become almost non-existent with our staff. In terms of students, the numbers have been declining. We do a little celebration dance every time we have no reported cases, which is becoming a more regular occurrence. We are going to continue to follow COVID procedures as we have in the past. Even with our staff vaccinated, our students are not vaccinated. So we want to make sure we're following protocol that continues to move us along this positive path that we're heading. I commonly get the question of when do I think things will be normal? I'm not sure that things will ever be the normal that we had. I do think, though, that we will get closer to that. And I can only guess because I'm not an expert, but in my conversations with the health department, as well as articles I've read or news reports, I'm feeling positive that come the fall next school year, we will be in a more normal situation in terms of school. And the reason why I say we're probably looking at a different normal is because, and I've said this before, but we've learned a lot throughout this pandemic, and we want to make sure we keep those things in place. And those aren't just academic things like the use of the technology, the online instruction, but it's also care and maintenance of our facilities. And it's not that we weren't already doing a great job, but we've seen through the pandemic that we can do even better. So we've learned skills throughout this pandemic that I think it's important to keep in place as we move forward. Also have a brief update for the board on the Portrait of a Graduate process. We have finished up our committee meetings. We've had 4 rounds, 8 hours worth of committee meetings. We had approximately 85 individuals participating in those portrait committee meetings. Those have included board members, staff, students, community members, senior citizens, parents. We tried to cover the whole gamut to ensure that the committee was a true representation of our community. We are preparing to move on to the next portion of the process. We want to give everybody a chance to have a voice in this process. So we are going to be doing, the impact group is going to be doing for us, surveying across the community as well as across the district. In addition to that, impact group is going to run for us small discussion groups in order to review what we've done with the Portrait of a Graduate and also receive additional feedback in terms of the direction that we're going. We are currently working on developing how we're going to develop those focus groups. I know Amy and I talked quite a bit today about it, and we'll have more detailed information coming out soon. But we're trying to come up with a format that will give everybody an equal opportunity to potentially be a part of those groups. Portrait of a Graduate directly connects to our strategic planning process. We are at a point where we're going to see some crossover between the Portrait of a Graduate as well as the strategic planning process. And what I anticipate we'll see is that many of the questions asked in the focus group as well as through the survey not only will relate to the Portrait of a Graduate, but will also relate to strategic planning. And that's because the Portrait of the Graduate is going to be the driving force for our strategic plan. And the impact group is going to continue to assist us in that process. Our current goal is to complete this process by next fall so we can roll out these initiatives for the new school year. I do anticipate that this process and working with our community and staff will likely move into the summer. We want to make sure we're taking adequate time in order to complete the process. I think it's important that we give an update on our high school principal search. I know we've had discussions with the board and internally. I don't know how much we've shared with the public, but we have begun the process. We've had the position posted now for several weeks, first for internal candidates and then for external candidates. Chris and Jim and I are going to be spending the next week or so reviewing those applications and screening through them. I believe we currently have somewhere around 30 to 40 applicants at this time. And I'm sure those will continue to come in and we'll continue to review them as we receive them. I would anticipate that we'll have a multi-round interview process, starting with screening interviews, which we'll handle administratively, which will then lead, following spring break, some sort of committee interview process. And in that process, we want to allow the opportunity for students, staff, parents to participate. So we're still working through what that process is going to look like. And one of the discussions we're having is, do we want to have multiple committees and have a wider range of people involved, or do we want a smaller committee? So I think as we move through the screening process, that'll help us answer many of those questions. And then I do anticipate we'll have a final round interview as well. With our finalist candidates. I haven't, this is going to be new news to Jim and Chris, but one of the things that crossed my mind is that's something we could potentially live stream and maybe have more of a presentation from our finalists rather than the formal interview assuming that we're down to 2 or 3 really strong candidates that we're trying to decide by. I think it's important that we take this kind of an extensive process for our high school principal. It's not that any other position isn't as important, but it's a very important position in the district that gets a lot of attention because the high school, and you all see in the papers, gets a lot of attention, whether it's through our students' academic achievement or whether it's through student activities, clubs, and athletics. So it's important that we find the right match, not only the best candidate, but the right match for our high school and our district. At this time, I want to invite Dr. Kwolek up to talk about prom and graduation. She has been filling in as our interim high school principal over the course of this past year, and I know she's put in a lot of work with Andy Brenner as well as student committees in regards to formulating what a prom and graduation can look like this year, because our students this year, last year was difficult because those students missed out on prom, had an alternative graduation, but looking at the bright side, they had their beginning of the year activities, homecoming, and things like that. So for these students, we're trying to give them some of those things at the end of the year because they missed the stuff in the fall. So Dr. Kwolek?
I'm just excited that we're able to talk about these two things. So we began these conversations once we heard from the state that proms would be allowed. So we started by meeting with the health commissioner to discuss what prom could look like. Because as I like to remind people, we're one of the largest high schools in the state. So these conversations started there, and then what we began to hear is about some of the smaller school districts who are still having their proms at local venues. So I just like to remind people, because we're so large and have about 600, a little under 600 seniors, some of the things that smaller schools can do aren't available to us. But that we're talking about a prom is the positive. And so I met with some students, a group of seniors, to just talk to them about what do they need to have at prom to make it feel like prom, and what are some of the things that don't have to be there. So for example, they said, we don't need a photo booth. That doesn't define prom, but decorations define prom to us, so it has to be nicely decorated. They also said, music is important, obviously. So it was really interesting because I think that's who matters the most in this is the students, and so meeting with them and asking them what was important. So on May 15th, we will have prom. It will be in the high school gymnasium, and we've had that approved with the health commissioner. And again, reminding parents that there is not a venue large enough for all our students in that sense. We will not have food because, again, to have 600 students eating in one location and socially distanced with masks off is very difficult. So we're working through the rest of the details. That's what we're able to share at this point. I want to thank Amy Busby and Main Street Medina, because what we are doing is even better. We're partnering with local restaurants to hopefully put together some packages and other things, because what we'd like the students to do is go out to eat in the community that night. So even though we're not having a meal for them, we want to partner with businesses and hopefully help out local businesses, but also have the students go out to eat or get meals to go and eat them in the groups they're hanging out with. And we think that will be a great thing, and it will be interesting to hear from the students if they prefer that. Because again, it's a longer night, but the things they find interesting aren't necessarily what we as adults find interesting. So again, that's another exciting thing that we're excited to do. There'll be decorations. Again, that was most important for the students. We're not going to have a photo booth, because when you think about those things, we'd have to make sure the kids were socially distant. The time it will take away from the dance to take pictures there, when parents can do pictures before, will be exciting. So I emailed all the high school parents, but fees will need to be paid by April 8th. Tickets are going to go on sale April 12th at 3 p.m., and they'll be on sale until midnight on April 21st. Tickets will be $20 per person. So again, I think we're just very excited to share this and get this out there. The other big thing is only Medina High School seniors will be allowed to attend. And again, we're excited to announce this. We're sorry it has to be that way, but again, to limit attendance and allow for the social distancing we're required to have, we have to leave it that way. So we're encouraging, if you have a significant other, that you maybe go out to eat with them, take pictures with them, and then go to the dance with your friends. That part will be a limited part. We're going to work with the parents about after prom. I can't announce yet whether after prom is or isn't happening. That would be limited to seniors only. But there are parts of prom you could still do with someone that's not a Medina High School senior. So that's a question we've gotten. If your student goes to the Career Center and is a Medina High School Career Center student, they can attend as well. But if they're a Career Center student who would normally go to Buckeye or Cloverleaf or Brunswick, they would not be able to attend. But if you have any questions about prom, feel free to reach out. I don't know if the board has any questions about prom specifically. Again, I think it's just exciting that we're able to guarantee we're having one. So we wanted to get word out because we know girls need to get their dresses. It's a very important thing. We want parents to be able to set the budget now or save, one or the other. So we're also very excited about graduation. The students are also very excited. So another thing I wanted to check with students about, the students actually feel like this may become graduation in the future, and I know Erin and I had talked to Erin, felt that way too. The students are abuzz about, we're going to have graduation at the stadium, and the students actually feel like this might be better than at the JAR. So it'll be interesting when we get feedback after, but again, the students feel like this might be the best graduation ever. So they're excited about the venue. May 22nd is our date. May 23rd would be the rain date. We're looking at earlier in the day, so 11 o'clock. We will have tickets, so each student will be able to have 4 tickets based on capacity guidelines from the state. I want to let people know we are getting some questions about the limit to tickets. We are going to print tickets that can't be copied. So we're going to have them specially printed. So you are limited to 4 tickets, but we are encouraging you, if you know someone who isn't using all 4, to work with them to see if you can get more. If someone only needs 2, maybe you can get 2 from them, and that has been the practice in the past. I know in the past at the JAR we could fit more, so we know that people's practice was maybe to show up without a ticket or to copy tickets. You won't be able to do that, so I just want to let people know ahead of time. We are printing special tickets that can't be copied because we are limited in seating. We will have a handicap seating area and parking area. I know that was a concern for some, but I want to ensure and assure you that we will have that availability as well. I think it's, again, really exciting. It's exciting to hear from the students that they're actually looking forward to this. It's not a COVID thing. It's something they think is cool regardless, either way. So, any questions about graduation?
Not a question, just a comment, because I think having it at the stadium makes it so much more personable because they've spent their whole education career, or most of their education career here, and it's kind of just the topping on the cake.
Yeah,
So-
and that's exactly what the student said. It feels like we're graduating at our place,
Yes.
like it's our place to graduate.
And the
We
final-
also feel like, in talking with Amy too, we hope then families will support local businesses because you're here, you're not all the way out in Akron. Hopefully you'll eat local then too.
and they get to say their final goodbyes too. So thank you for everything that you've been doing. to pull
this is,
together.
it is not me, it's all of us together. And it's been great to work with the students because again, some of our best ideas come from our consumers, which are our students and our parents. So the kids have been great.
Yeah, thanks.
Anything else? Good. Oh, I forgot one more thing. Sorry, Erin. You were going to catch me before. So the other great news, and it is because Medina County is such a great community, we are going to partner with Buckeye and the Career Center for graduation. So Buckeye's going to hold their graduation here as well, and so is the Career Center. So we are all 3 going to split the cost. So that's another fantastic. We used to partner with Brunswick when we were at the JAR, and we would split flowers and other things. Buckeye and the Career Center are going to have their graduations at our stadium as well. So it's an amazing partnership we have in this county, and it will also allow us to maybe spend a little more on decorations and do some other things because we're dividing the cost by the 3 of us. So it's just a nice partnership, and it allows us to collaborate with others well.
Yeah, and with the stadium, you think it should be completely free because we're doing it in our facility, but there are costs involved in terms of maintenance, custodial, making sure the area is clean, and we want to make sure it's really a professional graduation. So we are in the process of renting things like stages and sound systems and things like that to ensure that parents can hear their child's name being read and that they can see their child moving across the stage as well. Thank you, Dr. Kwolek. Any questions for me from the board?
It's just very exciting. It's exciting to see some things getting back to normal and having these activities happen here, and it's great that we are getting feedback from our students. So thank you all for your help and work on that.
Yes, the district bank balance increased by $18.4 million in February, pushed the balance up to $79.4 million overall. This is $3.3 million below last year at this time. The general fund revenues were below last February by $250,000. The combination of state foundation funds and restricted funds and other funds accounted for this decrease. The general fund expenditures were below last February by $107,000. Purchase services and capital outlay accounted for this decrease. The sales tax fund balance is down to $3.18 million. The district spent approximately $178,000, with the majority of expenditures going to mobile radios. I knew you would ask that. So. And the recreation center capital fund balance is down to $263,000. The school district spent $6,500, and the city of Medina reimbursed the school district $3,700. The district has received $55,900, I'm sorry to say this, in February. The total collected for the current fiscal year is approximately $550,000 below last year at this time in investment income. 2017 was the last time our collections were this low. The district has a general fund true days cash estimated to be 253 days. This is up from January by 73 days and below last year at this time by 20 days. Questions on the financials? Okay. Next on the list, we have a resolution for accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission. This is a yearly resolution. Basically, we're setting the rates for next calendar year. We've already been taxed for this calendar year, the start of this calendar year. They're taking the budget that the board has passed in January, and they're setting the rates based on that budget. If we were to have a levy here in May or a levy in November, then they would change the rates and we'd have to pass another resolution. And finally, I have Ray and Associates. Ray and Associates took over for Kennedy, Cottrell, and Richards. Kennedy, Cottrell, and Richards were our auditors of our Medicare school plan. Basically, we have our occupational therapists and our physical therapists and our nurses that provide services to those eligible students that are eligible for Medicare, and we get reimbursed a portion. These auditors go ahead and, it's a separate audit, of course, they go ahead and audit entry that they make. And so we have this on a yearly basis. This is a 3-year contract. Currently, they're doing, Kennedy, Cottrell, and Richards are in their final year of the 18-19 year. So Ray and Associates will be starting up the 19-20 and going out to the 21-22 years. Okay? Thank you.
It's time for board communications. I did want to take a moment just to let the public know that Mr. Skidmore is remote this evening, so that's why he's present but not present, and I'm presiding over the meeting in his remote presence.
Remote presence, yes.
Does the board have any items they would like to share?
I do. I have actually a couple thank yous. The reason that I do the thank yous is because I just want the staff especially to know that, as a member of the community is thinking about our staff. And maybe sometimes you don't hear it from them. from the community. Maybe you do, but I just want you to know what I'm hearing has been extremely positive. Your resilience and your flexibility, especially this entire year, has been absolutely wonderful. I have neighbors with children in the district. They go to Northrop, they go to Canavan, and everything has been hugely positive from coming from them. So I just want to let you all know that from our board, we're extremely proud of what you've done this past year, and you've maintained your professionalism and your passion, unbelievable passion for our kids, especially during this coronavirus. So it's greatly, greatly appreciated by your school board. I just want to let you all know that. So that was my first thank you. My second one goes to Chris Hassinger and the boys basketball team, who made a great run at regionals. And even though they didn't get the regional title, they showed extreme professionalism and great credit upon Medina and Medina City Schools. Just did a great job. So congratulations, Coach Hassinger and your basketball kids. I have two more. The third one goes to our gymnastics coach, Darcy Ranello. I don't know if everybody knows this, but I'm extremely proud of her. She was nominated. Make sure I get this right. She won. I don't think she was nominated. She won this award. She was the 2021 Ohio High School Athletic Association Gymnastic Sportsmanship, Ethics, and Integrity Award recipient. And she's a great lady. For me, gymnastics is one of those sports that, I don't know, how others feel. It's just kind of, I don't know. It's like when the Olympics come around, everybody's excited about gymnastics, and then the other 3 years, nobody is. But I don't know, I seem to kind of be interested all the time, and even though it kind of flies under the radar a little bit, I'm proud of Darcy and what she's accomplished with our kids. She consistently does a great job, and the community, I hope the community realizes the kind of people that we have in some of these other lesser tier sports that don't get a lot of attention. So congratulations to Darcy. And lastly, a huge thank you to Simon Spelling, our boys soccer coach. And I got to make sure I get this right. Simon was nominated as the 2019 and 2020 Ohio Boys Soccer Coach of the Year by the National Federation of State High School Association Coaches. And he was nominated by the Ohio High School Athletic Association. So that's a huge award coming from the state. And if you know anything about Simon, he's constantly bringing our kids to the state level tournaments and doing a great job. And he's just a great guy and great coach, and our kids are lucky. And again, as we do with Darcy and all of our coaches, the community, I'm glad to say this because the community needs to know the people that we hire are truly professional, class acts, and do great things for our kids. So we're lucky to have all these people. So congratulations to all of those folks, and thank you to our staff for what you've done this year. From Aaron all the way down the chain of command into all of our buildings. You've all been extremely wonderful. So thank you.
Well, after all of Mr. Ross's thank yous, there aren't many left. But I do have one. I do want to thank Fen for doing the Pledge of Allegiance tonight, and for all the schools that have been doing those recently. It's kind of nice to see the students get involved and stuff like that. And that's all I have for now.
On the 8th, the curriculum committee met, and the governor has requested a learning recovery / extended learning plan to gauge any learning loss over the course of this past year. It's due April 1st. Some of the things that our curriculum department are working on is some face-to-face summer school for K through 3. and for the qualifying students. And remediation, well, that'll be in person. Remediation for K through 8, which is going to be virtual. And of course, at the high school level, we have the high school credit recovery. There's also for the middle school in the fall. The fall? Or is it currently now? I think it's in the fall. After school homework help, after school until 4 o'clock. Going to be run by our teachers at both of our middle schools. And also, I just wanted to remind the community that Mr. Sable put out a survey to all families to gauge interest in an online county collaboration for online schooling as well. So if they can complete that and return that. There's also going to be in-person and virtual visitation at the Career Center for sophomores coming up this week, the 18th, I believe. And I think that's all that I had. Oh, except for, and Mr. O'Cole, if you could put that up, I saw this in the principal's newsletter, and I just wanted to give a shout out to Mrs. Campbell over at Heritage Elementary, just for her creativity and resourcefulness for writing the grant to Home Depot for those large orange buckets, because our elementary students cannot go into the music room. They're having their music classes in the classroom. So I just thought that this was just an amazing example of what our staff has done, as Mr. Ross said earlier, just to make things special for our students this year, and so that they don't miss out. I just think that's awesome.
We're getting Mr. Chambers pumped up for his action items.
Mrs. Parkhurst, if I could jump in. Okay, thank you. Rob Skidmore, sorry I'm remote tonight, but I just wanted to add that I appreciate the work the administration is doing, the thoughtful work on the principal office. And I also want to thank Dr. Kwalik for stepping in as interim this year. She's done a phenomenal job. We've had really positive information coming out of the high school, and hearing tonight of the plans for prom and graduation really makes the board happy, knowing that this work has gone in and you've communicated with the students, and we're just really pleased to hear it. So thanks a lot, Chris and Aaron. Thank you for all your work on it. We appreciate it. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Skidmore. I will concur with all the items that the other board members said. I do want to also acknowledge we did have some gymnasts and a wrestler make it to the state level of competition, so congratulations to all of them. And Mr. Skidmore and I also serve on the policy committee policy committee. We met recently. We do have some just standard updates to policies that we're working on, as well as a board handbook that we're working on that we hope to have to the board for a first reading for the policy updates, and then the review of the handbook at our next board meeting. So thank you.
Okay, if it pleases the board, item number 1 is Treasurer's Report. It's recommended the Board of Education approve the February 2021 Treasurer's Report. Item number 2, resolution accepting the amounts and rates. It is recommended that the Board of Education adopt the resolution accepting the amounts and the rates as determined by the County Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor for tax year 21, collection year 22. Item number 3, agreement with Ray & Associates. It's recommended that the Board of Education approve the agreement between Ray & Associates and the Medina City School District to conduct the engagement of agreed-upon procedures related to the Medicaid school program for the period July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2022. Item number 4, supplemental to permanent appropriations. It's recommended the Board of Education approve the following supplementals. Your list here includes, we have a mini grant that is coming here for nearly $1,900. It's actually 2 mini grants totaling that. Our auxiliary service, these are our final funds going to our auxiliary service based on actual number of students and actual dollar per student from the state. And then I'm giving these title funds here, praying to God they'll be approved by the state at some point. These title monies, they're going to be changing. I know it, Tina knows it, they're going to be changing here between now and June. So this is the latest amounts that we have for you to approve. And we'll probably be coming back next month as well, right, Tina? So item number 5, we have a fund-to-fund transfer. It's recommended the Board of Education approve the following fund-to-fund transfer. We're moving monies from the Claggett principal account to the Claggett 6th grade field trip account. And then we have finally item number 6. It's recommended the Board of Education approve the following then and now purchase order, Cummins Sales and Service. The Transportation Department just got their purchase order in a little late. They're going through a changeover with their secretary, but this was put in with, it was like a day or two late. I can't remember the amount, but since it's over $3,000, current policy calls that the board has to approve it. Questions?
I'd like to make a motion to approve these action items.
You always do that.
I'll second.
Any questions from the board?
I have one for Mr. Chambers. Regarding the Ray and Associates agreement, I don't have any issues with Ray and Associates. I am curious, though, is this one of these deals where they're kind of assigned to us, or do we actually go out and solicit who that firm would be to do that audit?
In the beginning, when the audit was necessary, we solicited Kennedy Cottrell. Ray and Associates took over Kennedy Cottrell, and the members that were working with Kennedy are still going to be working on our audit. So to me, it felt like we don't want to change our auditors. They already have all the procedures down with Mina and her group there, so it would be very good for us to work with them.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Hearing none. Mr. Chambers?
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Hilberg?
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik?
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore?
Aye.
Thank you.
I do have to say, Mr. Chambers, that was much more impressive with the "We Will Rock You" leading into it. First item tonight is donations. It is recommended that the Board of Education accept the following donations to the Medina City Schools. I want to point out here, our Medina High School Key Club is making a $2,000 donation to St. Jude's Children's Research. This item really popped out to me, that our students are still financially giving back to charity organizations, considering the challenges that they have faced over the past year for fundraising. So to keep those kinds of initiatives within our clubs and organizations a priority is something that impressed me. Number 2, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the Medina County Career Center Satellite Program Standards and Maintenance Agreement between the Medina County Career Center and the Medina City School District for the Medina County Career Center to provide educational services specifically for design and modeling, animation, robotics, and biotech for students at Claggett Middle School, A.I. Root Middle School, and Medina High School for the 21-22 school year. I do want to point out that all of these courses are a result of our last strategic plan, where we were focusing on career readiness, as well as increasing opportunities for students in terms of coursework at both the middle school and the high school. I want to thank the Career Center. I also want to thank our curriculum department for this collaborative initiative because it's put us in a position where we were able to do it in a very financially feasible way with the Career Center picking up many of those costs for us. Number 3 is the service agreement. We actually have 2 on here. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following service agreements for the 2021 school year. The first is to provide education for a Medina City School student, which is in a court-ordered residential treatment facility. The second one is for hometown ticketing, and that is for them to provide a platform to allow the client to make online ticket sales to customers. We have previously been with GoFan, and I think we've been with them for maybe a year. The reason why we're looking at making an adjustment is because our league, our athletic league, utilizes hometown ticketing. The state athletic association also utilizes hometown ticketing. And what that means is anytime that we have an away game or we are hosting an Ohio athletic event, we have to adapt to the ticketing system that they have in place. So this will create more consistency as we're going into competition within the league and as we host league activities. I do want to make sure the board is aware that I know Mr. Chambers spent quite a bit of time with this, as well as Mr. Hotke, doing our due diligence in reviewing the contract. We want to ensure that there's set time periods in which we will get paid, and also that our disclaimers and expectations are being followed. And I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Mr. Chambers, but.
Yes, Hometown was very good at working with us when we were asking for our indemnity clause to be added in there. They also were able to provide us another option of payment because the option that was out there was with a third-party agent, and that third party refused to put an indemnity clause in their agreement. So Hometown gave us this option. It's a 10-day option. Basically, we'll look at a check being cut 10 days after the event is completed. So they were very good to work with.
The next service agreements, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following service agreements for the 21-22 school year. All of these services are to provide internet for the district. NeoNet is the technology organization that we work with to house all of our technology devices and for us to work in a consortium to get lower prices on technology. This is a 5-year agreement with NeoNet. This is slightly higher than last year's or the previous contract, and the reason why, and Ryan, correct me if I get this wrong, but we originally had, before we went to NeoNet, 0.5 megabits of width band. We then moved up this year to 2, and this contract's going to move us from 2 to 10, which will make a big difference in the ability for traffic to move when students and staff are online. This is even more important now that we're 1-to-1, and we've gone 1-to-1 a year faster than we expected to because of the pandemic. We do have 2 contracts with Armstrong Utilities, and this is to provide internet services to our maintenance facility as well as our transportation facility. The reason why we need contracts with Armstrong is because we do own our own fiber around the district. There are 2 locations where we do not have our own fiber running, and you can guess that's the maintenance facility as well as transportation. So we need to contract with Armstrong in order to use their lines to get those signals back to our hub at the high school. Number 5, it is recommended that the Board of Education accept the following sponsor renewal for the City of Medina City Schools Recreation Center sponsorship agreement. Again, this is a renewal, and this is for the Medina County District Library. And this also has gone through the Recreation Center Advisory Board. And number 6 is personnel. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following personnel pending completion of all licensure and requirements as set forth by the state of Ohio, as well as our Department of Human Resources. As we're heading into the spring here, we are beginning to see more resignations for the purposes of retirement. And we started a tradition a few board meetings ago of having the people closest to these individuals present. So I want to invite our administrator presenters up to the front. If you could share some information about your retirees.
Good evening. Paul Worzencroft, principal at Claggett Middle School. I'd just like to say thank you to the board and Aaron for letting us speak about our employees who have done such a wonderful job over the many years. Claggett 6th grade teacher Laura Phyllis is retiring from Medina City Schools with 33 years of service. An interesting note with Laura is that she started at Claggett Middle School in 1988 as a paraprofessional working with special education students. While working as a paraprofessional, Laura decided to go back to school to get her teaching degree. She was then hired at Claggett as a teacher in 2006. The past few years, Laura has taught math to Claggett 6th graders. She has been involved in several building committees and as a part of the annual Veterans Day Assembly at Claggett. Laura is well liked by both students and her co-workers. I personally will miss the way that she has been able to make some great connections with both students and staff in the building. She has always been willing to go above and beyond for her students, and I can't even tell you how many times I've noticed her in the cafeteria during her own lunch, helping students and talking about math while they eat. So thank you, Laura, for your 33 years of dedicated years at Claggett Middle School.
Hello. I am here tonight to talk to you about Mike Doré. And Mike has been a Garfield custodian, and he is retiring after 26 years. Oh, I can't see. I have my glasses on my head. After 26 years of service to Medina City Schools. Mike has worked as a custodian for a total of 35 years as he worked for Brunswick Schools before coming to Medina in 1995 to join his wife Alice, who also worked in the district. Mike started at Claggett and then spent his last 20 years at Garfield with us. Mike has always been very kind and easygoing, and he takes great pride in making Garfield shine. In retirement, Mike is looking forward to volunteering to work with students at Garfield, as he wants to keep in contact with both the students and the Garfield staff. The staff at Garfield is very fond of Mike. We always knew when Mike arrived in the afternoon the day was almost over, and Mike would work his magic to get the classrooms neat and tidy and ready again for the next day. If you know Mike, he is very quiet and very reserved. But I always know if you can get Mike talking about his grandson Lincoln, his face would just light up. He is truly the light of Mike's life. He shares remarkable tales about this little boy, and you can just see how it makes him so happy. We're looking forward to having Mike back in to be with our little students at Garfield School. He's got his eye on the kindergarten, and they could really use a little bit of Mike down there, too. So thank you so much. Thank you, Mike.
Good evening. First, I want to say thank you for recognizing Mrs. Campbell. She worked really hard to get those buckets, and she was really excited about that. So thank you for giving her a shout out. I'd like to congratulate Carol Parsons on her retirement. Carol is or has been a Heritage fourth grade teacher. And she's retiring with 31 years of service to Medina City Schools and 34 total years of teaching experience. Carol worked as a tutor in the district for 2 years from 1984 until 1986. She was officially hired by one of my favorite principals, the first principal at Heritage, Wes Florian, for a Heritage fifth grade job in 1989. Carol spent her time in Medina at Heritage Elementary, so all of her teaching time has been with Heritage. Over the years, she has taught fourth and fifth grade, while some years teaching both grades in a multi-age classroom. Since 1999, Carol has taught fourth grade at Heritage. She is viewed as a language arts expert, and staff look to Carol for her expertise. She is also described as a teacher who always puts her own needs second to her students' and her coworkers' needs. And I want to thank Mr. Shields for helping me with the history of that, so thank you. I also want to add that teaching reading and writing is really challenging, but teaching kids to love reading and writing is a whole different ballgame. And Carol has that gift. In fact, I've heard her called the book whisperer in our building, and if you could see her in action with her students when we didn't have COVID, on the floor with students around her, reading a book and just engaging them, you would see why she's called the book whisperer. For years, she and dedicated staff have decorated the front lawn of Heritage with the beautification leadership team, and the flowers that you see are all Carol all summer long coming by because that is her building. She's been there. She's one of the few staff members who have been a fiber of Heritage for over 25 years, and her calm, composed nature that engages students and staff will really be missed. She's just one of the calmest people you've ever met. At Heritage, we believe in sharing your gift and making your mark, and I'm honored to personally thank Carol Parsons for sharing her many gifts, for truly making her mark on the lives of so many students and staff, but also on her husband, Dave, and her 3 children that she put through Medina City Schools also. So it's a hard loss. She will be missed, but congratulations to Carol Parsons.
I'm excited to present 2 of our Medina High School paras today. Dottie Kimball will be retiring with 12 years of service, and I've been lucky to know Dottie in a number of different ways. She's currently helping out with our tech school, and that is a very different job and a unique job, but Dottie's been so fantastic at it for so long, and she's always been willing to take on the tasks that other people are afraid to do or not interested in. One time she even rode a bus with a student every day, which many people would make a face at, but she has been fabulous at it. And she was originally hired as a para to support our students with special needs at Canevin, but due to budget cuts and layoffs during the more difficult times, she was moved to the high school. And that's where she spent the majority of our time. She's been wonderful, always is kind and helpful with staff and students, and we're really going to miss her at the high school. And then I'm even luckier to present Marlene Roman, who's retiring with 35 amazing years with Medina City Schools. And Marlene started as part of the Fenn family in 1986, working with students with special needs. And she stayed at Fenn for 31 years, working with our students with special needs and running the library. And then, as she'll tell people, she decided to graduate from elementary school. She skipped middle school, so she was extremely gifted. She skipped those 3 years of middle school and went on to work at the high school. So the last 4 years, we've been lucky enough to work with her at the high school. It's been a blessing. Marlene has gotten to work with her own students when she was here, and it's a true kind of Medina thing. And now she's actually got to work with her grandchildren, too, as they attend Medina City Schools. Marlene's a very hard worker and gets things done, so we will really miss her too. And 35 years is a long time to spend anywhere, so we're very appreciative that she chose to spend it with us. So thank you to both of them.
And I want to thank our administrators, our building principals tonight for presenting. It's very meaningful. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to accept the superintendent's action items.
Second?
Mr. Chambers or Mr. Sable, on item 3, the service agreement with hometown ticketing, it says 0 cost, and I think there is a cost though when there's actual sales tickets, correct? No, there's no cost at all. Okay.
Sorry, no cost to the district. It's a matter that, just like use of your credit card, if you're purchasing something, the cost is placed onto you using the credit card.
Okay, so as parents pay for their tickets, any service fee would go directly to them. That's why there's no cost to the
That
district.
is my understanding, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you for clarifying that. Thank you.
I have another question on hometown ticketing. So if parents wanted to avoid that service charge, that additional charge, or they decided at the last minute to go to the football game, is there still going to be the opportunity to buy paper tickets or purchase tickets at the gate?
I always believe Todd is offering that opportunity, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board members? Any questions from the public regarding these action items? Okay. Hearing none, Mr. Chambers?
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Hilberg?
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik?
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we've reached in the agenda is for public participation. I do see we have some people from the public that have attended this evening. Has anyone signed in to speak that we're aware of? Does anyone intend to speak? If not, I will waive. We do. Okay, so let me read our instructions here then. Community members wishing to address the board are asked to abide by the following guidelines. Please state your name, address, and affiliation. Please keep comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. All comments are to be directed to the Board of Education and not any one individual. Comments shall focus on areas that have not previously been brought forward to the board by the individual or associated group, and comments will occur before each vote of action items, which we did. So you may come, if you wish to speak, you may approach the podium, please. Thank you.
Better get my glasses on. Can you guys hear me? Oh, it's already on. Good evening. My name is Scott Jenny, 821 Dogwood Trail, Medina. I'm a 30-year resident of Medina. I've got 2 kids that graduated from the school system. And I also work as a bus driver and as a para within the school system. The thing I wanted to bring to the attention tonight of the board and get on the radar is I speak on behalf of myself and a number of people that I'm in contact with. And so I wanted to get these things out on your agenda and so that you can start to formulate, if you haven't already, policies, opinions, positions on these things. But in light of, I would say, an avalanche of somewhat radical items coming at the school systems from the current administration, Biden in particular. 2 things I wanted to talk about. One is his transgender order that's coming at us, and if you guys haven't seen it yet already, some of the things that are involved in that, it allows transgender students access to sports, bathrooms, and locker rooms in accordance with their gender identity. It has the effect of schools keeping minors' transgenderism secret from their parents. It's also schools helping minors access drugs for HIV-positive sex without parent knowledge. Preschoolers and other young children are targeted in this process, specifically Illinois, California, Colorado, New Jersey, and Oregon require BT instruction in all public schools. And it's a fact that all schools that receive federal funding, per his plan, will be required to treat people as the sex they claim to be, which impacts all of those things I just talked about. So I wanted to find out if you guys have talked about that, if you've established any policies regarding that, and if not, where we're going to go in the future with regard to that. The second one is involves, I believe, the Equality Act, but specifically critical race theory and the 1619 project. And I'm hearing all kinds of things coming down the pike on that. It was just at the Beechwood School board meeting last week where that was discussed. And they were requiring students to attend a class on that, and they were given extra credit, even though it was mandatory. And it involves things of basically, I believe, creating racial tension within our students, and it's just creating a lot of things that don't exist already. So that's where I wanted to just present some of these ideas to you guys and find out if you've talked about it or if it's on the radar going forward. Thank you. Thanks.
No additional comments at this time. I would like to make a motion to move into executive session to consider the appointment, employment of a public employer official, as well as preparation for conducting or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment.
Second.
I'll second.
Mr. Skidmore did.
Oh.
Mr. Skidmore did, thank you.
I'll rescind that second.
Anybody joining us?
Joining us.
Mr. Shields and Dr. Paul.
Yeah.
Yes, Ms. Parkers,
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore,
Aye.
Mr. Hilberg,
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik,
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. It looks like it's still daylight out there, so enjoy your evening. Thank you.
Hey, Rob, I'm going to send you a new link because I got to.